Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. This time I'm going to be talking to you guys about Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I decided to do this because it's almost Halloween in like a day or two, so I thought this would be a good time to go over a spooky story, a spooky classic that is. So with that being said, I'm just gonna jump right into the review. Everyone's familiar with Henry Selick's stop motion film from 2009, Coraline. Originally inspired by Neil Gaiman's book that was published in 2002. And here's a little bit about the author and his inspiration. The author, Neil Gaiman, started this book for his daughter Holly, who was a big fan of scary stories, but finished it for his daughter Maddie, as he explains that Holly would have been too old for him for the book at that time. And then he moved from England to America in like the 1990s. His goal for writing Coraline was to have a good moral, and that moral was actually in the book here. My daughters that told them something I'd wished I'd known when I was a boy. That being brave didn't mean you weren't scared. Being brave meant you were scared, really scared, badly scared. And you did the right thing anyway. Pretty good moral of the story. The book and the film were fairly similar, I thought, to each other, but the main difference I like to point out would be there was no YB in the book. It was just Coraline doing her own adventures and whatnot. Also, the different events that take place come a little sooner than the movie, like her meeting her other parents for lunch instead of dinner, stuff like that. There's a lot of neat and spooky illustrations through the book. The illustrations are by Dave McKeon, and I can show you guys some of them once I kind of get into the meat of the story. So, why is Coraline scary? Why is it like such a spooky thing that people thought this wasn't for kids, even though the author in fact wrote it for his young daughter at the time? So in a nutshell, it's about a 12-year-old girl who moves into a new town with her parents only for her to discover a dark history about their complex through her really weird neighbors and adventure into a mysterious door that leads to the other side of their complex, which she then discovers something that looks like her mom and dad, except they have buttons for their eyes. And they seem just a little too happy, like they're smiling ear to ear when they meet her. I'd be a little off put by that as well. She then is coaxed into staying forever because these freaky people are super attentive and alluring. Only if she lets them sew buttons into her eyes. She says no. Her other parents abducts her parents but agrees to give them back if they play a game. Are they in cahoots with Jigsaw? Meanwhile, Coraline went to her real home and in fact found that her mom did not return from her 2-day shopping trip, which then she goes to alert her downstairs neighbors, Mrs. Fink and Forcible, who were former performers, but they like brush it off and basically say, hey, well, tell your mom to come and visit us sometime. She also calls the police and they dismiss her as well. At some point in the book, she meets Mr. Bobo, not Mr. Bobinski like it was in the movies, and his performance rats. He's equally as weird as his doppelganger in the other world, but the doppelganger, in my opinion, is twice as creepy, and here's why. On page 29 to 30, I'm gonna read you guys what the doppelganger says to Coraline and their like interaction. The other crazy old man upstairs was standing in the doorway, holding a tall black hat in his hands. The rats scampered up him, burrowing into his pockets, into his shirt, up his trouser legs, down his neck. The largest rat climbed onto the old man's shoulders, swung up on the long gray mustache, past the big black button eyes, onto the top of the man's head. In seconds, the only evidence that the rats were there at all were the restless lumps under the man's clothes, forever sliding from place to place across him. And there was still the largest rat who stared down with glittering red eyes at Coraline from the man's head. The old man put his hat on, and the last rat was gone. Hello, Coraline, said the other man upstairs. I heard you were here. It is time for the rats to have their dinner, but you can come up with me if you like and watch them feed. There was something hungry in the old man's button eyes that made Coraline feel uncomfortable. No, thank you, she said. I'm going outside to explore. The old man nodded very slowly. Coraline could hear the rats whispering to each other, although she could not tell what they were saying. She was not certain that she wanted to know what they were saying. It's okay, girl. I wouldn't want to either. I'd be out of there. She also finally meets the sarcastic cat, which is the same cat from the other world, but he talks now. She meets the three souls of the children that were lured in by the life the other mother promised, letting her sew buttons in their eyes. Meanwhile, she is basically trapped in the dungeon inside the walls until the other mother pulled her out. Her parents were in fact captured inside a snow globe, who would later not remember the experience at all. She beats the other mother by throwing the cat at her and escapes, but later would find that Thing's hand was still after the key she had to the other complex. With that, she would rid the hand by tricking it into the old well, no longer to disturb the world. I do find both the book and the movie equally creepy. Not horrific, but definitely creepy. And I think it is a good scary children's book. I hope you guys like this review. If you guys want me to do another scary story or have another scary story recommendation, go ahead and comment down below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. I'll try and post about every week for something new. And I'm on Instagram, DeviantArt, and TikTok, so I'll leave those down in the description below as well. But happy Halloween, and thanks for stopping by.